All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise and glory to Yahweh, Shema, Shabbat, Shema, Kakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to all that came out to pushing the word of sincerity and in truth. So, Brother Bars off from Great Millstone, Atlanta. Yeah, and I just had the lesson on the blacklisted news. It says, cops still not charged after dumping 26 rounds in a trunk full of small children, shooting 3 of them. I'm going to jump straight into it because, this is another indication that, man, martial law is around the corner. And it's showing more evident that these cops are not, going through the proper processes, getting locked up in such things for committing the atrocities that they commit. Because it's really to desensitize the people, one, and two, to show that the level of control is being fully shifted to the government. The common citizens that actually had so-called rights, of freedom to, exercise themselves, and basically, to defend themselves against the government and press charges upon them. You would think that they would, lawfully arrest cops that are doing all these, foul things to the citizens, but they're just letting them get away scot-free because we're in a time where, martial law is around the corner. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to pop off, and when these things pop off, you're not going to be able to, go to the authorities for help. And I'm going to jump into it. It says Oklahoma City, as of course, Oklahoma, as TFTP reported in April, rather disturbing scene unfolded in Oklahoma City as police officers attempted to kill a robbery suspect, opened fire on 4 small children, shooting 3 of them. Now the family and residents are demanding answers, and the mother says the children have a long way to go before they are healed. According to the WPSD, medical records say a bullet pierced the left frontal lobe of 4-year-old Asia Jacobs' brain. So the child, Asia Jacob, got shot in the head, the frontal lobe, left frontal. Her 5-year-old brother suffered a skull fracture. He got shot in the head also. And her 1-year-old sister was left with deep facial cuts. Well, that sounds as if, there was somewhere in the facial area for the 1-year-old also for the facial cuts in the midst of, fire. Asia's 2-year-old brother was not hit. The children's mother, Olivia, says emotionally they're not okay. Physically, they're alive. Not until 6 days after the shooting did police release any information as to what happened. While they have refused to elaborate on any video of the incident, we now know that the suspect, William DeFar Smith, 21, did not fire on police before police opened fire on a truck full of children. Also, we know that police were in an unmarked car and not in uniform when they approached Smith. See? So Esau is showing himself to be wickeder and wickeder. This government, the so-called powers that be, the individuals that everybody trusts on and relies on for safety, that are the same powers that's putting them in extreme danger. They didn't have no reason to open up fire. He was a robbery suspect, and if he actually shows himself offensive, so to speak, or belligerent with any form of firearm, then that would actually grant them justification to retaliate fire. But they just wanted it to kill him off, and and of course they missed, and they hit everything but them. They hit children, more likely shot at bus windows, 'cause it wasn't just 4 bullets that were shot and all of them hit the children. They was firing multiple amount of times, of course. And these children, of course, are there in a fatal condition. The article goes on and on, but that's just the main point. They're going to, of course, further illustrate the layout. But like I said, we're coming in those times where, it has to be survival of the fittest. You have to be in that mentality of, there's no reaching to the government for help, because these devils, they're all about self. And in the time of martial law, what's going to happen too? They're going to push out a lot of diseases, pestilence, outbreak. And when you're heavily stricken with sicknesses, certain bacteria strains or viruses, pathogens in your system, the first initial reaction for the police and for whatever authorities that's gonna be in place, their first instinct is to get that person away from them and quarantine them, and in most cases kill them. So that's the times that we're living in. They're looking at you like an animal and a beast, and they're looking at you like a number. Your lives are no have no value in this kingdom. All right, this is Habakkuk 1:6. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. Right. So during the time of martial law, the modern day Chaldeans would be the Americans. All right, the American government, because even during the time of the Chaldeans, what happened? They were marching through the breadth of the land, and they was having going in dwelling places and basically taking, looting, so to speak, and then of course they had their policies, they had their so-called right as the government to do those things, and if you were in the government or if you was underneath the government, you couldn't fight or fend off what they would do, because what happened? They would lock you up, they would of course imprison you, they would beat you, and in most a lot of cases kill you. So it says they are terrible and dreadful, for their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Yeah, and brothers that's in this truth, your whole reaction to these situations is just staying, play in the background. That's why the Spirit has lately been pushing, just play the background. Don't try to be in the forefront, be in the midst of it, each and everything, because it's wild out here, man. This is truly the wild, wild west, and you're seeing all the crazy things that's going on in the world, and people don't take it serious. They think that this thing is just a video game, when truly this is life or death. And we know that the government is deliberately looking to kill off 2/3, or really the whole nation of Israel. Here in Georgia, which we reside, us brothers in Georgia, we went to of course, Georgia Guidestone, and the Georgia Guidestone has, of course, written in the plaques of the population reduction. So if the police or any authority, whether it's in the medical and people are dying and things of that nature, they're still supporting the elitists and the agenda that they're looking to push. So continuing on, it says the horses are also swifter than leopards and are more fierce than the evening wolves, and that represents the vehicular cars that they are driving. It says, and are more fierce than the evening wolves, and their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from afar. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat. And, right, this eagle is landing on all these different cities, and he's doing nothing but strangling them out. And it's not just a shooting of children; it's shooting of mainly blacks. That article came out how blacks are 3 times more likely to get killed by the police than whites, which is it might be 5-10 times, because anytime you're dealing with Esau, they're looking to exercise violence, man. But that's why, as brothers, like I said, you have to be in the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shah, stay in the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shah, pray constantly so that you don't get caught up in the wrath to come. Because even though, of course, the so-called white man is pushing the wrath, the Heavenly Father is putting the Spirit on him as the sword to push it. That's why you've been seeing all these things with Issacharites getting kicked out of America, all kind of events taking place. It's all to shake and arouse Jacob. So this is 2 Ezra 15:15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right. So we just read about the evening wolves, how they're gonna come and march through the breath. Are the Chaldeans, and when they're marching during the time of martial law, a lot of people gonna be out here fighting, man. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of the action shall stand in their power. Right, so the kings and the princes are no longer going to be trusted, and we're seeing it now, that people are losing all hope and all trust, and they're starting to rely on their own instincts in order to overcome in the kingdom. And this is, it was just a short article I wanted to bring out, to really highlight the times that we living in, of course. So I'm going to end by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shema, Shabbat, Shema, Kakadash. Yahweh to the apostle, it was a great millstone. Shalom, Akim.